Garland in the corner. He's got it. Feed stand. Foul with the running in. Mitchell shakes to the basket and thunders it home. Oh! Mobley throws it down. And Allen blocked the shot at the rim.
Welcome to the Chase Down Podcast, part of the Cavs media family. I'm your host, Justin Rowan. The Chase Down is presented by Fubo, the official streaming partner of the Cavs. Watch over 350 channels of live sports and TV, including FanDuel Sports Network, without cable. There's no cost and no commitment. Try for free at FuboTV.com/Cavs. The James Harden era is officially here, and it is starting off with a bang as the Cavs win back-to-back games against the Sacramento Kings and a thrilling comeback victory over the Denver Nuggets. Joining me today to discuss it is my co-host Carter Rodriguez. Carter, how you doing, buddy?
My word, that was ridiculous. A really cool game, a really cool win. I'm really glad. We were going through some scheduling conversations, and we weren't able to go live after the debut. And I honestly said, I'm glad we didn't, because it was kind of a weird game. And then we got a weirder game, but I would argue a more exciting and maybe more informative game. That where, I think we got to see a lot of the theory of the James Harden trade put into place. We got to see a really gutty win on the road to close a road trip, which teams always lose, by the way, against a title contender, down a lot of the size that you normally need to play against this particular title contender. And what a fun game. It was one of the games where that I was having so much fun watching it, even through some frustrations with the whistle. I was having so much fun that I legitimately was like, even if we lose this game, I'm really proud of the guys. And I'm extra proud of them when they win.
It was one of those games that was just so thrilling. Like, the compete level was where it needed to be, right? I don't think anyone had necessarily a flawless game, right? Like, Donovan was terrific in the first half. Sam had his struggles at times. Jalen had struggles at times, but both of those guys made key plays down the stretch. And obviously James Harden was just fantastic, right? Like, we talked about how, in the trade reaction podcast, we were talking about, we're going to miss DG, but we understand it. We think that this is an upgrade for this year. And I think if there's one way to pander to this particular podcast, it's basketball genius. And like, James Harden's passing and the playmaking, I think automatically is like, I'm so geeked watching him play, because it's one thing when you are watching James Harden play against the Cavs, or if you're watching any star play against the Cavs, because when you see a player of Harden's caliber make the types of reads that he makes to Jared Allen, or really any of the passes that he throws, when I'm watching it from a Cavs defensive perspective, I'm sitting there being like, man, why'd you allow that passing lane? Like, why we allow this easy roll to the rim, right? Like, you're always kind of viewing it from a defensive position. But when you're rooting for it, and it's the end result is something that you're excited about, you just get that much more appreciation for it. So it kind of reminds me of early in the season where Lonzo wasn't hitting his shots, but you and I were both like thrilled. We're like, man, if the shot comes along, like, this connective playmaking just feels so good. This is just another level of that, right? Like, Lonzo's a fantastic player, but Harden is historic. And for him to really not have a lot of time with the team. No shoot around, no nothing going into that Kings game, and I imagine just a shoot around coming into this Nuggets one. The basketball IQ to just kind of fit in this seamlessly and really come up with massive closing clutch plays in both of these games. What an introduction.
Yeah, it was really a fun kind of, again, a proof of concept. You got the three that definitely should have been a 4-point play, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank goodness they didn't inbound it while James was on the floor. To tie the game. But what I was most impressed with in a game where he only had 7 assists only, obviously James regularly lives above that for his career, was just the pace, where I thought he did a good job of pushing, which is not James Harden's normal forte, not normally something that you put next to his name, it being a guy who really pushes in transition. Again, he's like LeBron. He likes to survey. But what he did a great job of was playing with pace within, but not getting sped up. Something that I think this Cavs team can be accused of, especially in these big moments, especially when under duress, is playing a little too fast, making decisions a little too fast, and sometimes losing your way. And like Justin, it's not lost on me that 2 or 3 of our biggest buckets down the stretch were patient passes to Jared Allen flashing down the lane. Yet another amazing game for Jared. He goes for 22 and 13 while wrestling the bear that is Nikola Jokic. But I think James gets a lot of credit for that. I mean, he throws Jarrett that crazy alley-oop down the stretch.
I couldn't believe how high he got. That looked like something out of NBA Jam.
Yeah, Donovan, catches it on the wing and sees the defense strung out and immediately is able to hit Jarrett rumbling down the lane. Like, the offense flowed, and it was, while the 3 was great, and the brilliant, rim attacks from Donovan were great, I was more impressed by the ease at which they ran the offense and the crispness with which they ran the offense. You almost watched Denver's defense wait for them to settle into a boring late game ISO, and the Cavs just kind of wouldn't do it. And it was really, really exciting.
And that was one of the things that I think you and I both were kind of looking forward to and hoping that we would see from James Harden's presence with the Cavs is, kind of that relentless playmaking, right? Like, we're not going to abandon the bigs. We're going to make sure that we are still involving them, right? Because setting those screens for Harden, he's such a methodical player. Like, that's just going to be a big part, a consistent part of the offense, right? And that late shot he hit, that's a situation where in the past, particularly with no Evan Mobley as an outlet, that's a bad shot, maybe a kind of a 9-1-1 pass at the last second, someone flinging up a shot. James Harden's able to get off a shot in those spots. And I think when you have someone that's always able to get off a good look in every situation, given the size and the skill set that he has, but is also consistently looking to get guys involved, I think that's just a real big difference maker. And you highlighted the way that he's been utilizing Jared Allen. That has been the most fun thing for me because you kind of instinctually know that, hey, this is going to be something that they should have natural chemistry. This should be the type of big man that works really well with them. And I'm really enjoying kind of the subtle nuances of James Harden's playmaking with Jared Allen, right? Like, he is setting those pick and rolls higher and further out than we've really ever set them. He gets off the ball really soon, right? Like those inbound little bounce passes come a second, maybe even 2 seconds earlier than they would before.
Or they come 2 seconds later than you would expect them to. And
right.
And that's the other interesting thing is sometimes it feels like with this team, Jarrett's roll tempo and the guards pick and roll tempo don't perfectly align. And that's why you see those games where Jarrett gets 5 or 6 shot attempts. Because again, he's a guy who needs to be fed the ball. Like, he's acknowledged that as much. Like, it feels like James has already forged that really good partnership where he's finding him precisely when he needs to. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of Lord of the Rings content. A wizard is never late, nor is he early.
But the importance of, like, really what I would call it is mature playmaking, right? Like the importance of consistently involving the bigs in those actions by making the defense, almost expected but not be able to take it away. That opens up those opportunities that you got late in game, like when he ran it with Jarrett and instead threw a skip pass over to Donovan, I believe, and it resulted in an eventual pass into Jarrett for the finish. Like that is just that next level, that next tier type playmaking that, as brilliant as DG is, like that level of playmaking maturity, you weren't going to get from him, right? Like I remember earlier in Harden's career, he wouldn't get off the ball as soon, as quickly in the pick and roll, right? Like he'd kind of hang on for a little longer, probe, maybe try to draw a foul or throw a late lob to Clint Capella. And as he's gone older, as he's got more mature, as he's gone, maybe a little less athletic, he's getting off the ball sooner, right? Like he's more efficient with his movements. And I think that's one of those kind of key differences of bringing in a veteran like James Harden in comparison to what you had before. And when you contrast
certainly in comparison to what you had this season, which was none of them.
Right, which is why I was going to say, when you contrast that to the way that this roster was playing at the start of the season, when Darius was out and there was just a complete absence of rim pressure, this is just a night and day difference. And for them, as you said, lacking the type of size that you would typically need to beat this Nuggets roster, for them to have this type of performance, I thought it was incredibly impressive. And obviously we are going to talk about the shiny new toy, but I do think we need to give a shout out to Jarrett Allen because he consistently shows up against this Nuggets team, and he consistently plays very good defense on Jokic. He challenges them on the other end, and I thought he was just terrific tonight.
Yeah, he went into this game averaging 26 and 13 in the first 3 games of the month. Puts up 22 and 13 on 10 of 16 from the field. I thought guarded Jokic as well as Jokic can be guarded. Both him and Thomas Bryant get, I think, a lot of credit. Jokic had 7 turnovers in this game, and some of them were of the the careless pass or the too ambitious variety. But I talk a lot about how defenses and physicality is a lot of like what happens before the ball gets to them. Something that makes the Thunder such a great defensive team. Yeah, they're awesome on ball, don't get me wrong. But they also are grabbing and bumping and pushing and pulling every time you try to get to the spot where you want to catch the ball in the first place. And I thought both Jarrett and Thomas Bryant really made Jokic feel them in this game. Like they were bumping him, they were hitting him. He had 12 free throws, but like, for the amount of contact he got over the course of this game, I thought they did a really nice job of, just knocking them off their equilibrium. So, I mean, it's been the month of Jarrett Allen. Get your Eastern Conference Player of the Week ballots ready, Cavs front office, because he definitely deserves to have his name put forward, putting up the effort he's putting up, especially when they really need him with no Evan Mobley. He's just been so phenomenal, and if this is something that they can consistently unlock and get him, back up to that 15, 16, 17, 18 points a game from the 14 that he's currently at. Like, I just think that's just yet another thing that really can test kind of the defensive structure that teams are trying to build against this dynamic backcourt.
Well, what encourages me is right now we're running it with a group that hasn't had a lot of time together. Like there's going to be a learning curve, right? Like I think we are seeing the learning curve with this group.
There were a lot of uncomfortable minutes in this game.
Absolutely, right. And I think it's going to take Kenny some time to figure out what the rotation is going to be. I think some of these lineups you're seeing are out of necessity, right? Like you don't have a lot of bigs that you can trust in this situation. You don't have a lot of power forwards, really just Naquan Tomlin. And if you try to play him like an Evan Mobley amount of minutes in this game, he's probably going to foul out. So you are seeing a lot of kind of smaller guard lineups that we're probably not going to see much of if Evan Mobley and Dean Wade were healthy. But what I like is with limited options in the bag, right? Like you don't have your full set of clubs to go to here. They're still able to get to some of these pet plays, right? Like you are still able to utilize different ways to get Allen the ball rolling to the basket, to kind of leverage that to get other guys open. And what excites me about that is when you create this type of an advantage with the bigs, usually that opens up the big to big passing. And I always feel like when the Cavs are absolutely at their best, when they are humming on all cylinders and it's their peak offensive output, yeah, they hit a lot of threes, but that's usually when you see a lot of that big to big passing, right? Whether it's Mobley to Allen or Allen to Mobley, both of them just have such a almost supernatural feel for where the other one's going to be. I'm excited to see what that is, right? Because I think Jared has a more kind of refined like floater and touch game around the basket. Like I think that aspect of his game does not get talked about enough. Like he kind of gets talked about like he is just, this run and dunk guy. Yeah. But like, you saw the Wilt Chamberlain stat, right?
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, so Jarrett Allen has 9 games of scoring 25 or more points on 90% or better field goal percentage. The only player in NBA history with more than that is Wilt Chamberlain with 12. He's only 3 away from Wilt. Like that has to put in context that this isn't just some run of the mill, hey, we can replace this on the cheap type of player. This isn't just some role player.
You are speaking my language.
Like he is a fantastic player that has a lot of touch, and when you feed him consistently, he's going to produce. But what Mobley has, if you get Mobley that type of advantage, and he's attacking someone that's on their back foot, the way that he can knife around guys, right? Like I think the footwork's almost even better when he's confident and he's making decisions. He is able to be a menace attack in the basket as well. So I don't think Harden is going to get him going in the same way that he gets Jared going. So I'm excited to see what it looks like, because I do think Mobley with an advantage is able to capitalize. Mobley without an advantage, I think that's when you see him like early this season when it almost felt like he was being asked to produce like a Brandon Ingram. He's not at that point yet, but I do think that if you're getting him the ball with advantage, he's going to be able to create for both himself and others.
Yeah, last thing I want to say about Jarrett, that you touched on it and you mentioned it in our Discord during the live kind of game watch. Like those baseline floaters that Jared is putting up are not easy shots.
No.
Your depth perception is a mess right there. Really easy to put too much or not enough. You're generally being contested by a 7-footer right in your face, and that is just reflective of just how much touch this guy has. I really love that he's taking those with no hesitation. Fear the Fro podcast host Bob Schmidt's favorite stat is that the Cavs are undefeated when Jared Allen gets 10+ field goal attempts.
12-0 now.
It was in danger, brother. Not today, says the god of death.
The basketball gods were not going to allow it. And like the impressive thing with those baseline floaters was, I think 2 of them in a row came within 3 seconds left of the shot clock. Like you are incredibly rushed. You're catching it, not facing the basket, and he's quickly turning it and getting that in. Like that is incredibly difficult. That is reflective of a player that's feeling really good about their game, that's completely in sync. He must be using Zoom Workplace, Carter, because teams move fastest when everyone's in sync. Zoom Workplace keeps meetings, chats, documents, and more together, so your work flows like a perfect play. Keep work moving and zoom ahead with Zoom Workplace. Remember early in the season when nobody had patience for a guy playing with 2 busted fingers? Like, I'm
yes.
It's unacceptable. Like I would tough it out if I had a broken finger and my other hand had a busted finger too. Like I'm going to have the same touch that I should be expected to have. And he was still shooting almost like 60%. It was just down from his, Cavalier franchise best field goal percentage, but he's clearly playing with confidence now. He looks fantastic, and it's it's a real plus. I'm happy to see Jared utilized, because we said it when they were struggling and this part of their game was missing. And the context was there, right? Like Jared wasn't at 100%. Mobley was trying to find his groove, but the team is at its best when it utilizes the bigs, right? Particularly for a guard heavy approach, and that's still going to be true with James Harden. Properly utilizing those guys is going to open up opportunities for everybody else.
Yeah, and I already said one last thing on Jarrett, but I'm going to say one more thing, because one thing, as the I would say the preeminent Jarrett defender and supporter in the Cavs podcast stratosphere.
I won't take that crown from you. Yeah,
no, I think I got it, and
yeah.
But the one thing
it might be Bob, but
yeah, that's fair. Never mind, it's not me, but I'm right there. But the one thing that I was really hard on him, and Evan for that matter, over the early stretch of the season was the pretty precipitous drop off on the glass. Neither he nor Evan were rebounding well. Their defensive rebound rates had really cratered. He was at like 9.7 last year, is down to like 8.1 going into tonight. But in the month of February, he's got 17, 11, 10, and 13 rebounds. And like this Cavs team needs every single one of those, like with who they've had available in some of these games. So I just wanted to make sure I credited the glass cleaning, because he had 3 or 4 easy ones that just Denver got back, but he was also really wrestling Jokic and really fighting for contested boards all through this game. I thought his level of engagement was just phenomenal tonight. And by the way, he played 35 minutes, which is not in his normal minute range. And didn't look too gassed as he was yamming an alley-oop to help them win the game.
Yeah. Oh, man, what a fun game. And
that was
what
awesome.
a way to end the road trip, right?
Yeah.
Like it, as you said, this is a real tough situation to go out and get a win, right? Like you are playing against a contender. Like everyone, even without Aaron Gordon, people would favor the Nuggets in a series over the Cavs because
they were favored in this game.
They right, like it's. And Donovan was terrific to start this game. I thought he was terrific pretty much all night long, right? Like there was a couple stretches where he missed some shots, but I thought they were still really good looks. I thought
the playmaking's been really strong for him the last couple of days. He's got 9, 9, 4, and 10 assists this month, and hasn't crossed 3 turnovers, which was a pretty big bugaboo through the end of January.
Yeah, and I feel like this is one of those situations where Harden's a force multiplier, right? Like his playmaking is going to make Donovan's playmaking opportunities even better when they're playing together. I'm actually really impressed with how good it's looked already with those two. Like there's a couple awkward possessions, I think, especially on the defensive end, where there's miscommunications or mixing up assignments in transition. Like that kind of stuff's going to happen. But I think the natural playmaking is really kind of smoothing things out. And, Donovan, I was thrilled to see him have such a good game. You never know. He was at the Super Bowl yesterday. I was like, is he going to be tired flying in or whatever the deal is? I'm sure he's not flying economy like I would, but, he embodied if you can go out with the boys, you better be able to wake up with the men and go to work the next day. So
blue collar Donnie, that's what we call him.
Blue collar Donnie, getting it done. I respect the hell out of it.
Yeah, I thought he was great in this game. All the moves, just really violent rim attacks, which were really great to see. The playmaking was strong on a night where the Cavs really couldn't get a lot going. I mean, he had 10 of their 25 assists. And like on a night, there are a lot of nights where like if the Cavs are shooting the cover off the ball and Donovan gets to 10 assists, the fair question is to wonder, like, is he just benefiting from good shooting luck? Just he kicked it out of the shooter and the shooter made the shot. I thought he did a great job setting up everyone up and down the floor. Just really engaged.
Tyson,
yep.
That reverse with Tyson was fantastic, which once again, great cut by Jalen.
Yep. So I definitely want to give Donovan his flowers. I did want to ask you a little bit. We saw, going back to Harden, we saw the Kings pretty much just say, especially anytime it was just James out there, hey, we're going to put 2 on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And, James, I felt like handled that pretty comfortably. And then Denver, it was a little bit more, show and recover. They don't really like blitzing with Jokic, and they certainly don't want to switch Jokic. I wonder if the reason we really haven't seen James go crazy on volume yet. I mean, 16 shot attempts for a guy like James Harden is like, probably below the average.
Yeah.
And against the Kings, it was only 13. I wonder what we see if we kind of start seeing him try to assert himself a little bit more as a scorer once we start seeing teams switch. Because I do think at the highest level, teams are going to still, much like they did with Darius, I think they're still going to say, we'd rather switch than mess this up. And, and see, James, are you going to try to drop 40 on us?
I'm very curious to see what this version of James Harden ends up looking like, from a style of play standpoint, because I do think he is someone that when he sees those types of mismatches, and if he's getting the switches, if he's getting one-on-one opportunities and he feels like he's able to generate an advantage, he's going to generate that advantage, whether that's scoring for himself or scoring for someone else. I would like to see, here's the tricky thing. I don't know if they're going to send 2 on the ball when he's out there with Donovan. I don't think they're going to be doing that with the starting lineup, because particularly if it's Donovan and Tyson out there, that's going to result in an open 3, right?
And that's where the extra size really helps, by the way. That is a material difference in terms of James being a bigger player than Darius is. Darius has to kind of get the ball up at a higher angle to kind of lob it over the trees when they put 2 on the ball. James, he can find the angles
on a rope,
cleaner.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a 6'11" wingspan and he's 6'5", right? He can whip that around, and he just being left-handed too, right? It just creates different passing lanes and angles that defenders aren't typically used to, right? So I think those plays just happen that much quicker. But I would like to see if that does happen, right? Let's say whomever is trying that and Evan Mobley is out there, that's where I'd like to see, okay, what does it look like if Mobley gets that pass sooner than he would have if it was just Darius and Donovan out there, right? What types of opportunities does that open up? But I'm with you. I think some of this might be, hey, James is, trying to get comfortable with new teammates. He doesn't want to come in and rock the boat too much. The Cavs have been playing at, you look at the last 25 games now, they've been playing at a 63 win pace. Yeah,
they've won 9 of their last 10.
They've been rolling, right? They've been playing really good basketball for a while here. So he probably doesn't want to rock the boat. The other part might just be, hey, I'm early in the season, he was taking on a huge scoring load because Kawhi wasn't in the lineup, right? And the Clippers had, guys kind of fluctuating and all that. And his production over the last month, even though the Clippers were played well, the efficiency was coming down a little bit. It's probably nice for him to just be able to settle in and, hey, I'm able to find, Jalen Tyson open for a shot. Donovan's going to get 30 consistently in every single one of these situations. And Jaren Allen is Wilt Chamberlain reincarnated. He has a wide variety of options here. So when this team is fully healthy and we're able to see kind of, what it looks like with all of its horses, I'm curious to see, does he just kind of settle into more of a playmaking, right? Maybe he stays in that 16 to 18 shot range rather than getting into that 24.
I had a long talk with Steve Jones from the Dunker Spot last night, just hanging out in their Discord server, watching games, and Steve said something really interesting to me, which is that he feels like James Harden didn't come to Cleveland to bring James Harden to Cleveland, but to bring to see what James can bring to Cleveland. And the distinction there being he isn't really coming to do the Houston Harden thing.
No.
And Steve kind of mentioned that, like, if he felt like Harden's been looking for what he had ever so briefly in Brooklyn, ever since then. He didn't mean to be the lead high volume guy in Brooklyn. He just kind of looked around like, the Fresh Prince meme, and everyone's out of the house. Same with the Clippers for much of this tenure, where they weren't there. So I thought that was an interesting framing device of like, and like why someone like Steve, who's a big James Harden fan, is so high on the move for them, because there are things and buttons that Harden can push that this team didn't have. That's part of why you go get a top 75 all-time player, is they have kind of these unique traits. Like I almost think of like the badges in an NBA 2K. He's got certain things that differentiate him, and I thought they really showed out. I did want to talk on about the defensive end a little bit for James in this game, particularly. He had 3 blocks, some really, really well-timed doubles onto Jokic. I think there were a couple possessions where the Cavs just let Jokic ISO Jarrett, and it's like, brother, there's no defender on the planet that can let Jokic bump him 8 times on a play and not give up a pretty good look. But I thought, the doubles from James were good. What has been your experience of the James Harden defensive side of the ball thus far? I think it's about what I expected, generally.
It is what I expected, but it's still different to experience it. It would be the way that I would say it, because you are going to get kind of those event plays, right? Like he is actually able to use his strength and his physicality well. As you mentioned, I thought those doubles were really well timed. I thought it did throw off guys' rhythm. Like it bothered Jokic sometimes. It bothered other guys, right? And created steal opportunities, even though he wasn't credited with any. And the blocks were really well timed. Like those were legitimately nice defensive plays. And I think those event stats and those kind of event defense things are always going to, color people's perceptions. There are still times where it's like, okay, well, the spirit of DeAndre Hunter hasn't fully left the team, where, both he and Dennis Schroeder have had some possessions where they're just not paying attention, or the activity levels are really low. They get back cut or just completely kind of lose their guy. Those are going to be frustrating, and those are going to be present.
I just think that's part and parcel of the experience. Like those aren't probably going to go away.
Exactly. And I think it makes sense why the Clippers would put him on ball, because when his man has the ball in front of him, he is going to be engaged defensively, right? Like it's not, he's not a turnstile in terms of letting guys just get easy advantage and free walks to the rim. The off-ball stuff is going to be a bit of an adventure, and I think that's when you're hoping that having both Evan Mobley and Jared Allen back there is going to help cover up for some of that. But I do think, kind of in tune with this defensive shift that the Cavs have had in philosophy of, hey, we're going to take more chances. We're going to have a few more gambles this year. And, they've actually gotten better at covering up for that sort of stuff too, I feel, over time. I think having Harden be able to get those blocks and the timely steals and stuff that he does, and kind of those event defense statistics, I think it fits in well. Like I think we are well suited to cover up for his deficiencies, and what he can bring can be additive.
Yeah, I think that's I don't actually have much more to say than that. I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Like we're gonna see the lapses, we're gonna see not maybe full speed closeouts every time, but if the Cavs can kind of put him in the right spots, and because he does take the challenge in isolation pretty well. I think it was noteworthy that he took on DeMar DeRozan when in that Kings game and got a few key stops. The crash downs. I thought he took Murray a couple times and did pretty good in this game as well. Jamal Murray had a far below efficiency game, by the way. I mean, he's been first-time All-Star. First Nikola Jokic All-Star teammate of his career. An all-time crazy stat that he's never had one till now.
It is a beautiful moment for Canada and therefore the world, my friend.
Oh, my guy. Well, nevertheless, like I think they did he did fine, and like ultimately, if you're getting all the other stuff, like fine is going to be good enough. And I'll be really curious to see like how that projects forward, especially in a role where he doesn't have to be the everything engine every play. Like conceivably, as the importance ramps up, you should and be comfortable asking that intensity and focus to go up. So that'll be kind of the gauntlet I think the coaching staff needs to throw at him. But like for now, I think it's been more than fine. Before we get out of here, because it is quite late, should we talk about the other guys? Jalen Tyson, Sam Merrill, Thomas Bryant. Where do you want to go?
I want to go to Keon Ellis, actually.
Ooh, interesting.
I think we should talk about the new guys. I loved what I saw from him in that Kings game.
Yep.
Obviously,
Phenomenal.
a lot of familiarity with the opposition in that one, so that probably helped. But I thought Kenny trusting him to close in that one was important. And it's funny because we've had a few guys now over the years where Dean Wade doesn't get you a lot of great like defensive stats or anything like that, but we'll sit here and we'll talk about, hey, the metrics are really good. Like he's a very, very solid defender. He's terrific at a variety of situations. Sam Merrill has grown so much defensively. Like he gets around screens now. He's doing a good job in front of his guy. Darius Garland holds up in perimeter ISO situations better than you expected. Navigate screens well. It's just so nice when you have someone that you don't have to explain to people with stats that they're a good defender. Like it's just so blatantly obvious that like the timing of the block he had and the recovery, the hustle. I love his energy. He had a terrific finish on what should have been an and one in this game against Denver. Like I'm a big fan, and I'm very curious to see when this team is fully healthy and tough decisions have to be made about the guards, where he slots in, because this is a guy I don't want out of the rotation. And if we have Harden, Mitchell, Tyson, Mobley, all kind of giving you that secondary playmaking, I want him out there as a stopper and a play finisher. Like I really like what I'm seeing from him so far.
Yeah, I think he's been really, really good. I mean, I think a healthy degree worse tonight. Some bad fouls. Wasn't able to hit any of his open threes. Just what
I will say, he definitely fouled Jokic on that screen, but he also probably thought that he couldn't move Jokic. So that might have been a veteran sell.
Nevertheless, he did foul him, in a game where I wasn't thrilled with the whistle. The Cavs did have, a few silly fouls here and there, and Keon was no stranger to it. And I do think, much like his predecessor in Isaac Okoro, like at the end of the day, you got to make your threes. And he didn't, which is why he, played 20 minutes in this game instead of closing like he did against Sacramento. But you're right. I think the energy, the getting out in transition, you do like see the immediate limitations on ball. If you were, not familiar, it's not a crazy vertical athlete, not a crazy bursty guy with the ball in his hands, but like, I think all the other stuff he does is more than helpful enough to earn him a continued place in the rotation. And then let's talk Dennis, who I think had a good but inefficient game against the Kings. And then maybe not such a good game against the Nuggets in this one. But what did you think?
I don't think he's going to be an efficient player for us. I think his energy
That's never really been who he is, though.
No, I think his energy is going to be helpful. Again, one of those guys where he is going to have some really nice defensive plays and possessions where he is just a pit bull and he's disruptive and he breaks up the ball, gets a steal, gets out in transition, and that's a lot of fun. And he's also going to have times where he's just kind of walking around out there. And I get how that can be maddening. I think that it's one of those situations where I'm very happy that we now have a lot of guard depth, right? Because I think there's going to be nights where you kind of figure out by the second quarter, all right, does Dennis have it going or not? Is he out of rhythm or is he adding to our overall rhythm? And if the answer is no, hey, we are going to play more Keon. Or if we do need some added playmaking, we need a secondary playmaker just because of who's available, we can go back to Craig. And I feel good about those as options. So,
I do feel for Craig a little bit right now, just because, the team had kind of opened up at the beginning of the season to be like, well, I'll go back a little bit further. I felt
The
like
seas parted for Craig, and he
like
ran
last
through it.
year, I didn't feel like the team was super well equipped to need what Craig brought. Then this year, it felt like, to your point, like the sea opened up and like, hey, Craig, we need you, and we need you almost every night. And now all of a sudden, after this roster rework, there's a lot of guys in Craig's way, and that play don't necessarily play the most complementary styles. At least with the roster they had, these last two games with no Dean, with no Evan, no Max. So I can't help but feel for the guy. It just kind of feels like it's a little hard for him to find his space within what this team needs from him, because it feels like it changes every 2 months.
Yeah, I definitely agree with
the
you.
life of being a low minute rotational player is you're just constantly being jerked around with different contexts.
Yeah, but I just think this is such an important win too, because the Cavs, getting this many wins on our West Coast trip is insanely important. They're now sitting a game and a half back of the 2 seed. Detroit had a little bit of a brouhaha today, so we'll see if they have guys that miss time with suspensions or whatever the case may be. But realistically, I don't think that the Cavs can catch the 1 seed. If Detroit wins at this pace, they're going to have 21 losses on the season. The Cavs already have that. I don't think we're going to win out. But getting up to this 2 seed, like to me, that should be the goal, right? Like I think.
Yeah. By the way, just for the Pistons thing before we move off of that, they are 1 game. They're the tied in the loss column with the Thunder for the best record in the league. This isn't like a Eastern Conference thing. Like no. They've just been phenomenal.
Yeah, they have been absolutely fantastic. So that's why, I want to go out and I want to catch the Knicks. And I look at the schedule. We have to take care of business, obviously, against Washington. We have seen letdown games before, particularly that last game before the All-Star break.
And it's like the worst spot. It's the last game before the All-Star break. It's the first game at home after a long road trip. It's like every gambler beat in the book is playing against the Cavs right now. But what's playing in their favor is that they're playing the Wizards and still need to win.
But I'm looking at the schedule of that day, and Detroit plays Toronto, Knicks and Sixers. The Knicks on the second night of a back-to-back. Like there's a chance here to really make up some ground and move up in the standings, right? And I was listening to our buddies Carmen and Lima today, and I thought Ken made a really good point where the Harden trade really shifted things from hope to expectations. We have gone back from hope to expectations. I think that it is absolutely fair to expect this team to make the Eastern Conference Finals. I think from a continuity standpoint, and the fact that teams that make this big of a shakeup mid-season don't typically advance to the NBA Finals, I think that's going to be a hill that they have to climb. But I think seeing how well this fits already.
If I may, I do. Okay. I think that the expectation shift actually, it reverted back to what it was at the beginning of the season, and that is the NBA Finals, my friend. This is a team. This is a team that I thought should make the finals. I was talking about the difference between expectations and goals. If they didn't make the finals, but they lost in 7 to the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals or something, would that be a failure of a season? I mean, your mileage may vary. I don't know. I don't know if I have a great answer to that unless I was sitting in the feeling in the moment. But I think that the way that the season started, much like we have moved our expectations up when the teams outperformed our expectations, I felt like I had to move them down a little bit and say, hey, just hope we make the conference finals. And if we're good enough to make the conference finals in this East, maybe we can make the finals. I think this trade, knowing that we're not going to be sitting the rest of the year wondering, is Darius's toe going to be better, or are we one stepped foot or, one bad plant away from disaster? I think it's not a conference finals. This team should make the finals because the Knicks haven't looked good enough, and frankly the Pistons do not have the pedigree.
Yeah. Yeah, and teams with that little experience don't typically win, right?
Not normally.
Especially teams that are lacking shooting. And again, the Knicks' biggest weakness is defending the pick and roll, and the Cavs are basically built in a lab to expose that weakness. The Knicks struggled to put away skeleton versions of this Cavs roster, and yes, Christmas was annoying, and they should have won that game. But
how about Kenny, by the way, when he was like, "Buy the dip"?
Yeah. He
wasn't wrong.
Carter, would you say it's fair that we went into Denver and we left with mile-high expectations?
Oh, wow.
And on that note, have a good night, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. Click that notification bell so you know when we're going live. If you're listening via podcast and you want to support us, leave us a rating, leave a review, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, and help cook those books. If you want to be part of Chase Down's exclusive Discord chat, send a screenshot of the review to chasedownpod@gmail.com. However you choose to support us, we really do appreciate it. Make sure you guys are staying safe out there. Until next time, go Cavs.